Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Coach Les, and I'm here with Ms. Sujata Tiwari, the author of Against All Odds. Sujata has accumulated a wealth of experiences during her life, leading to insights and knowledge that cannot be coached or taught in a class. She's been a mother, wife, journalist, consultant, activist, leader, and businesswoman domestically and internationally. In sharing her story, Sujata strives to provide readers and now listeners and watchers of all backgrounds in any part of the world with real life examples on how to deal with the unpredictable nature of everyday life. And Sujata and I have teamed up halfway around the world. She's coming to us from Singapore, and I'm here in Minnesota in the middle of the United States. And we are here today to share with you some of our experiences. And also, one of the things to make it a lot of fun is we're streaming live on 9 different platforms. And one of those being Clubhouse, where we have an opportunity to invite people up on stage to ask questions, share their point of view. And we respect everybody's point of view, because there's so much variety in the world. There's so much available in community. And both Sujata and I realize that. And it's what was the cause of our podcast for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday evening. So with that, I'm going to let Sujata just say hello, and we'll get started. Go ahead, Sujata.
Hello, everybody,
Excuse
and
me.
thank you for taking the time to come here to share your diverse perspectives, which we are always ready to hear. Th-
So one of the things that we wanted to take a look at today, and I think was one of the conversations that we were having yesterday that was pretty exciting. We were talking about how do we look at all of the business owners around the world and how do they care for their employees. And we were having such a good time with it yesterday. We thought we'd continue to at least have one more day in that topic before we hit into our Friday evening special. And that being said, yesterday we had a lively discussion where we started to look and see how it has shifted in the last 2 years, thanks to the pandemic, to the opportunity for employees to have a little bit of an upper hand with employers. And I just want to share an experience that I heard today, especially in the medical field. Some of the, in both doctors with medicine and also dentistry here, at least in Minnesota, they are paying huge bonuses to get people to come and work in the hospitals, thanks to all the fear and all the stress and everything that has been put on the healthcare system. And then also in dentistry, I don't know how old everybody is in the audience. And so I'm just going to share this from my own experience. I'm 58 years old, and I was in college in the 80s. And I remember when AIDS, when AIDS became a very big conversation. And the dental offices suddenly were wearing glasses and masks and gloves, due to the fact that it was highly possible and probable to incur getting AIDS from bodily fluid, i.e., your mouth fluid. So they became very, very cautious, very aware, because HIV was a huge issue and was very contagious. So they protected themselves. And so if there was one field that was ready for the pandemic and one place that was already prepared for the pandemic in multiple ways, it was the dental field. And then, in ultimate wisdom of whoever the powers that be, that I believe don't ever practice, they just sit in their little ivory tower and say, well, this is what you need to do to practice. And I'm going to pass the mic to you, Sujata. That's somebody I need to go and respond to. So the mic's yours.
Yes, so people decide how we are to deal with pandemics, and they have the reasons, I guess, but it's not always viable, feasible uh, decision when we deal with people in large scale and numbers all over the world. And it sometimes gets me thinking that how practically are we dealing with the situation, because at times you don't have enough information, and you have to look at reality, which is that you can't, like in this pandemic, you can't really stay locked up forever. uh, 2 years has already been a long time across the globe, and it has impacted lives in so many ways that, I don't know whether the pandemic is worse, or the effects or after effects of how we have dealt with it is worse. And having said that, I mean, we can wait for Coach Les to come back, or if we want, we can uh, start some thoughts on the topic from yesterday. I see that Joey is there on stage and Madeline is there. So, would you want to take a go at it? Popcorn style, maybe, till Coach Les comes back. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Sujata.
Okay. So, want to share your thoughts?
Few minutes. I missed the first few minutes of the conversation, on where you guys were going with the conversation.
Basically, we were continuing from yesterday about the topic about how do we see business owners across the world and how do they treat their employees. And Coach Les was saying that maybe the employees have a upper hand these days a little bit. So we just hadn't got around to starting the conversation. He was sharing something interesting, uh, what happened, I think, recently. And then that's about it.
Yeah, I was here yesterday and we were talking. I'll just kind of highlight some of the things that I learned yesterday and some of the things that I truly do believe are important. And I like the term servant leader. I like I like the idea of leadership instead of the term boss. I think that's something that is, I think we've seen that recently over the years, and I hope it continues to improve. When I think of a leader, the leader is working with the weakest link, and trying to make them become a stronger person on the team. So there's giving them the right tools are important, showing that a leader has the ability to make sure every individual knows their job. I'm a firm believer in my past experience, and I said this yesterday. For me, it's not always about the financials when it comes to working in an environment. I find that I'm satisfied when there's strong leadership, and I try to do that when I'm leading, when I have a clear direction of what's expected of me, and when I'm given the proper tools to do the job right. So I think those for me are key elements that create a successful, the new buzzword is work culture, but creates that new work environment. My daughter called me today, and I got an opportunity to point out something to her. One of the basic needs that most humans desire. She said that it felt good that her work called her and asked her how to do something. Now, she's a floor manager at a restaurant. It was the GM who, in my opinion, should have known how to do it, but that's besides the point. And she said, Dad, it felt really good that they needed me. I think, I said to her, I said, that's just a basic need that we have. We need to feel like we have a purpose and we have a need. So I think in the work environment, I feel like that's an important thing that we need to cultivate in the workplace.
Yes, I think what is my take on this is leadership is not about designations or it's about actions that you take sometimes when you might not be the most popular person, but you take it because based on your decision making that this is right thing to do at that point of time in context, that is important. And making every employee feel that they are valued and they're appreciated for what they bring to the table, it goes a long way in retaining those employees, and to have a culture of where everybody feels that they are of some importance and some value to the organization, which leads them to give their best.
Sujata, I've got two experiences that or examples that when I was leading in the restaurant while I was a GM, and I remember I was the hiring manager as well. I would do the hiring, and I made a few hires with people who during the interview process really impressed me with their personality and just their story. No experience whatsoever, none whatsoever. And said before that the work environment and employees and get mad facility. I do, but this situation that I was in, I really thought this person was going to be excellent for the job that I needed them to do. And a good leader takes on that challenge of
Yes, Joey.
with the in the right coaching, you could bring someone up. Tell us that I got some heat under me wanting to do. I'm tired. She doesn't do that. She doesn't do that.
Joey, hey Joey, you're going in and out, buddy. Joey, you're a little bit in the matrix. Hello, Joe. Oh, he's out. Hopefully he'll be back.
Would you like to continue with what you were sharing, Coach Les?
Oh, he said sorry. And yes, do you remember what it was? Oh my gosh. One of those days.
You were talking, when the AIDS scare was on, and you were talking about in the
Oh,
dent.
the masks
People,
with a dentist.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you. So for me, just to jump back into that, and when Joey comes back, hopefully he'll be in a better position to speak. The interesting thing about it was these dentists and whoever the people were, the powers that be, that sit on this ivory tower, had no experience going and talking to a dentist, going into the office and looking and seeing what they were recommending these people to do. And what I found almost obtuse was the dentists and hygienists were literally having to take breaks to get oxygen because they were asking them to double mask, which is, how absurd. If anything, they were protecting themselves better than anybody because they were wearing glasses. And all these yahoos out in the world were saying, you got to wear masks and gloves. And nobody's talking about glasses, protecting your eyes, which, if people were actually thinking about it, your tear ducts are have direct access to your sinuses, which is your nose. So, and our government and many of the governments were on and off and on and off and on and off, whether gloves helped, whether glasses helped, whether masks helped. And, I just felt bad felt really bad for the dentists. And finally, they're protecting themselves against something way worse than COVID. And that's called AIDS. The death rate for AIDS, Sujata, and I'm sure you know this, is, compared to COVID, was like, I don't even think there's any comparison. And, millions of people died from AIDS. There was no cure for it. Now there's at least some stuff that's out there that can at least prevent and immunize a little bit, and against, now that it's been around for 40 years, right? But I just, sometimes I think some of these edicts that come down from the people in the ivory tower have no responsibility, none, for what it takes for the person on the ground doing the job actually getting their hands dirty. And I think this is across the board. I don't even care what job it is. I mean, people have no idea how hard farmers work, and the time that they get up and the time that they go to bed. So when milk prices or something goes up, the complaint from the world and from people is so obnoxious. It's like, wait a minute. When's the last time milk went up in price or eggs went up in price? Oh, it's been a while. Well, did you get a pay raise during that time? Did you get a cost of living increase during that time? Oh, you did. Well, doesn't a farmer deserve that? So there's just this hypocrisy that exists with people, that they're blind to other people's world, right? I mean, another case in point, the war in Ukraine that's going on with Russia, the way that came about and the publicity that it gets, it's like it's the first war we've had in decades. And yet, hello, there's still war going on in Bolivia, in South America. There's still wars going on in the Middle East. Everybody thinks just because the United States pulled out that it all stopped. No, the marketing stopped and the media stopped because it's not the hot topic anymore, right? But there's war in Africa. There's war in Southeast Asia. And it just, to me, it's these hot pockets that are, I'm not even sure this is the right word, but exemplified by media as, oh my gosh, the world needs to stop. It's like, wait a minute. Did you wake up in a bubble? What about the rest of the world? What about all these people dying of starvation? What about all these people that are dying because they've been pushed out of their homes and their villages by warlords, or all of these, a variety of things like this. I mean, in your own home country, Sujata, look at the some of the conditions that people live in and die in on a regular basis.
So many social injustices that happen.
Yeah. And we don't hear about that because, and I, God forbid that we hear the reality of the world around outside the bubble. And I think that the way that people talk about social injustices or bring them up, they bring them up with, here, let's blow up a nuclear bomb on media about this particular social injustice. And oh, by the way, we're not going to be responsible of the retaliation that happens, that is then becomes more of a problem than the problem itself because of the way the media does it. It's like, so then the media has a field day because now they get to film the social injustice. And it's like, I just, it's mind-boggling. And I happen to live in Minnesota and Minneapolis, where the whole George Floyd thing happened. And, a absolutely, the fact that a police officer did that is, completely unacceptable. Right. And I understand there's a million police officers around the country. One or two of them, or hundreds of them out of a million, are going to be doing things wrong. Welcome to the human race, right? I mean, any job, anything, anywhere is going to have a small population that are completely off the, I mean, look at Catholic priests, right? Another example, right? So I don't think these problems are ever going to go away because of, we are human beings. We're flawed. I think how we deal with these things has to be addressed, Sujata, because the way that we deal with them becomes the next problem. And sometimes that problem is worse than the original problem. Now, what do I mean by that? And I don't want to minimize anybody's death here, anybody on either side. But the number of people that died in the violence, not protests, not rallies, I'm going to call it violence, that happened in Minneapolis after the, and weeks or within a few weeks after the George Floyd incident, which was shameless, right? But the violence that happened after that, in the aftermath, and the deaths that happened in the aftermath on both sides. I mean, a sheriff in northern Minnesota getting blasted by a black man with a machine gun. Totally. I mean, I tell you what, I don't know about you, Sujata, but I sure as heck would not want a job where I have to walk up to a car that I've pulled over at nighttime to give a ticket to, and I can't see in the car because they have illegal windows, with shading on their windows. I can't see, and I have to walk up to that window to get their driver's license. Are you kidding me? I can't even imagine. And I don't care that it's being filmed. Who cares? The threat of that, and walking up to a car, and I don't care who's in it, white, black, yellow, red, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't want to do it, and I've been in the military. For me, I think the police should have every single person get out of their car, right? And put their hands on the roof of the car, and no matter who they are, so that I know that they're not going to pull a gun on my officer. And then, and if an officer steps out of line, because we can see and have people watching and looking at that they are punished to the ultimate extremes. Same with, the whole thing with the Catholic priests. Anything like that, anything where that social injustice, is taken advantage of because of your position. Government leaders that take advantage. I mean, our own president with Monica Lewinsky. I mean, you remember that? I'm sure you remember hearing about that with President Clinton. I mean, he should have been thrown out without even, just thrown out. I mean, why we had to even, it's like, why do we even have to go? Yes, there's some court system that needs to happen, but to do something like that as a leader of a country, you're out. I mean, just, similar thing happened to me when I was a leader. I stepped over a line, got into trouble for it, and the response was getting fired, and I earned it. I did it. I'm responsible. Right? Now, I was able to clean it up over 5 years. And at the end of that, they said, we'd like you to come back. And I said, nope, I've already moved on. Right? So I did a lot of work to clean that up. But I deserve to be fired. So, I mean, I think some of these social things that are going on, some of these things that happen, it's, well, I'm a billionaire. I have different blood than you, so I have different rights than you. No, you don't. You still have to go. You still haven't figured out how not to poop and pee, so you still got to be held accountable. Just because you got money, I don't care. Doesn't make you any different. In fact, there's probably an area of your life that makes an area of my life look like I got a halo because you were so inconsiderate to get where you got. All right, I'm going to hand the mic to you, Sujata. I'm on a roll today.
Yes, I was just going to say that. You're on a roll. And it was very well said. And whatever decisions you took which you shared about, getting fired someplace where you've done wrong, that's exactly while you were away. I was talking of leadership is not about designations, it's about actions that you take, difficult decisions that you make, even though you may not be the most popular guy, but you do the right thing at that time. And that's what you did. That's what leadership is all about.
Yeah, but there are different rules, right? I mean, these people that do injustices. I mean, I think who Namalakai is, and she talks about female mutilation in Africa.
Yes.
I mean, to me, when I heard what some of them, quote unquote, men did to their wives or did to their children, I'm like, I want to go up and neuter them, just take away their genitals, like as punishment. I mean, I know that's Old Testament, but it's like in Saudi Arabia and some of the, the Arabian countries where if you get caught stealing, they cut your hand off.
Yes.
Now I think there should be an opportunity to repent, right? But if you become a serial, then by all means, right? I think too often there's not enough there are not enough consequences for some of the actions.
Yeah, and people are silent about it. At best, they might discuss, but they do nothing about it. That's where the problem lies. We talk of numbers, then why don't the larger numbers do something about some of these cases or causes, as it may be?
I don't know. I think sometimes I think people are too busy in their own world.
I think human beings are uncaring intrinsically. So unless something happens to them, they're not bothered about what happens to others.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, people ask me why I spend so much time working with my Haitian brothers and sisters. You know, why I want to do missions work, because I know for me it's it's a place where I can deliver the most impact over a couple week period while I'm there. And when I come back here, I can do Bible study with them once a week, and I have been doing for 4 years. And that makes a difference for me. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna. Joey, are you back in good? There you are. I can hear it.
I am, but am I in good? No, I've only got 2 bars and the red bar. I'm going to mute because I know it's frustrating when someone's in the page.
Oh no, you sound great though. Now, as soon as I said that, I can't hear him. All right, Paddling, are you there?
Yes, sir.
How are you, ma'am?
Doing great. I think it was this last Wednesday. Speaking of injustices, I saw a video from Inside Edition on YouTube about this mom that was back in like 2021 that she had. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a lawsuit that she filed against this trooper, a state trooper, that pulled basically did the pit maneuver for speeding, and I mean it was crazy. I was like, I gotta pray about this. I gotta, and
what did he do?
Huh?
What did he do? I don't know what the pip maneuver is. Sorry.
Oh, it's just something like if you were in a high speed chase with the police, they use that to try to pull you over, but it flips her car over instead of just safely, I guess making her stop. And she suffered severe injuries. Her baby was fine, but she was pregnant. It's crazy.
And I'm sure they have it on camera, right?
Yeah, the body cam actually shows him pulling her over, and she said, "I thought it was safe to come to an exit. He said, "No, ma'am, you just pull over when we tell you to." But actually, the driver's guide says that in Arkansas that you can pull over to a safe spot and then pull over, but you have your flashers on to indicate. She had her flashers on, indicating that she was looking for a safe spot.
Yeah, it is such a tough position to be in.
Yes, sir.
About anything else you want to share?
No, sir. That was it on the injustice. I thought this was a good discussion.
Awesome, thank you. Wade, how about you?
Yeah, I have something to share, and and by no means do I equate myself with my Black brothers or sisters, but being a white person, because I've befriended a black man, my family is basically almost what disowned me. And literally, because the property I live on is all mostly is family. And it's so funny because my one uncle, I had a great relationship. Then all of a sudden, he's nipping and tucking at my property line. And we had a great relationship. And the only thing I can point to is I used to have a Memorial Day party for people in recovery. So it was a safe spot that people that was trying to avoid drugs and alcohol could come hang out, have a pretty good meal. We could fellowship together. Some were in recovery. I invited family as well. And not that it would have changed me, but I didn't realize just how racist my family is. I mean, I knew they were some, but... and it's so funny when I tell this story, like when I realized it, it was so funny because he happened to show up earlier than them. So that meant he eat ahead of them. And then the one thing I wanted them to know, because most of my family believes that people that are of any other race, you name it, that isn't exactly white, Caucasian, is all on welfare. And I asked him, where do you work at and what he did for a living? Because I wanted my family to know this man goes out and works just like the rest of us. But even still, the one uncle's passed away. And one of the last conversations we had was about race. And I said to him, but you do realize what the Bible says about this. And I can't even imagine, right? Because that's just, okay, it's my family and I live around them and I have to put up with them. But I can't imagine like having to go into public places and have feelings that something might happen. It's just unreal to me. And that's just a small taste. And that's why I say I don't want to equate that but I experienced some of that and I'm like, wow, that's some powerful stuff. And this is, as I say, this is my family. But, Les, Coach, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't have changed a thing because that man's my friend. And I know if I need something, he'll be there and show up for me. And my family just might not. Even before that family gathering. So that's just my take on social injustice. It's all over the place. The only thing I can think about is love conquers all. That's the only thing I know. Love conquers all. So we must show people love the best we can and try to help teach people how they can just be kind to somebody else. Because at the end of the day, we all live in the same world. Yeah, Sujata lives over in India, but we're still connected. And I'm not just meaning by technology, but you keep following it out, and somebody I meet and somebody she meets, and you follow the chain, and sooner or later, we're meeting one another. And I just feel bad for people that live those lives where they hate other people because of race or because of the amount of income they produce. I sure don't want to live that life. I'm going to land my plane there, and I'm just so grateful. That's not me. I'm just so grateful.
Awesome. Thank you, Wade. Appreciate it. Joey, are you in a better spot now?
I still have the red bar, Coach. And I don't know if I could share. I'm not exactly caught up with the conversation. unfortunately, but I'm listening when I can.
All right. Thanks, Joey. I'll check in with you. How about you, Sujata? Do you want to share, pop in?
Yeah, what Wade was saying made a lot of sense. That it's people who are around us, the so-called family and friends, who sometimes don't stand with you by your side, and they're the ones who sometimes pull you down for even ironically doing the right things. But the message is that you be true to yourself, and you do the right thing even if you stand alone, and there'll be other people who will come across and be with you. And that's what happens. And as we can see, it doesn't matter where we are. If we connect, if we are accessible, then that's it. Nobody can stop relationships from forging forward, if we happen to cross our paths. But we must speak up when we need to speak up, and not only speak, but we need to take actions. That's what I would like to share.
So what kind of actions do you think we could take, Sujata?
It needs mass movement. It needs more than just talking about it. I'll give you a small example which I've been trying to tell people to do in my home country. We have very, very bad roads, roads that, never get fixed. Although we see a lot of work going on from time to time on one patch of the road, and still the roads are generally not fixed. And I have been saying this for years now. What if the entire country decided not to pay their road tax? They can't put everybody in jail, can they? So just write to the government and say, till you give us good roads for which we pay taxes, we are not going to from here on pay any taxes. It's the same thing when you elect a government. Instead of saying what they didn't do, you hold them accountable and say, this is what you promised before you got elected. Now, this is what you didn't do. So, give us a reason why we should re elect you. Don't cast your votes. If there is a provision for not casting your vote, then don't cast it. Let that be in large numbers. That people turned up but didn't cast their vote because nobody deserved it. There are many things, but it would require large numbers. Just a few minority of us can't really do it.
The journey, yes. Hi, Trudy. Hi, Linda. Hi, Jessica. Hello, Gus. Come on up. We're having a discussion, our fun discussion today. We're talking about how do we look at all of the business owners around the world and how do they care for their employees? And not only that, we stepped into some government, we stepped into some talking about police officers, talking about Catholic priests, talking about people that are currently definitely dealing with a lot of instances of social impropriety and things that are criminally offensive. And how is it taken care of? How do we avoid it? How do we move forward with this? For those of you that are on stage, I know that Trudy had her hand up, but it doesn't look like we were able to get her up. I've invited her and I tried to get her up by answering that hand raise. So go ahead and I'm not sure why she wasn't able to make it up. Anyway. All right. Were you able? You weren't able to bring her. There we go. Jessica came up. Thank you. All right. So Sujata, anything else you want to add to our lovely discussion?
We can probably hear what Jessica has to share.
Hi, Jessica. How are you this afternoon? This morning?
Good afternoon. I'm doing great. Thank you. Greetings from the sunny Gulf Coast. Well, in full transparency, I just logged on. So
Yep.
This was a great title. So I'm glad to hang out and catch up with the information, and I'm sure at some point I'll weigh in.
Beautiful. I appreciate that. I kind of figured that, but I thought I would let you answer for yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. It's always a pleasure to be in the same room as you, sir.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. Well, let's see what just happened here. Somebody just sent me a back channel. Let me make sure it's. Okay. So Trudy is not able to come up. That was my mistake. And okay. Well, I think I've had my rant. So I'm Jessica, if you get a chance, you might have to listen to the replay of this room, because I definitely went on a rant today. Very frustrating.
I'm sorry I missed it live.
No worries. No worries. It was good. It's just one of those things where in this topic, whether it's business owners or governments, and how do they care for their employees, or how do they care for their constituents? And we touched on the wars around the world. We touched on the gender mutilation that goes on in Africa, and nobody talks about this stuff on the news. Here the war in Ukraine happens and it becomes the headline news. Everybody talks about it. It's still headline news. There's still rooms on Clubhouse about it. There's a continuing room. And yet the question that I threw out there is it's not like war is a stranger to this world. We've got war going on in South America. We've got war going on in Southeast Asia. We've got war in Africa, and so on and so forth. So, why is this not talked about? Why are we not looking at the societal issue versus, what's the hot new topic that we can make money on and sell the advertisers on? And if we make it sound even worse than it is, or, because we can do that, we can maybe sell some more toilet paper. That's the fun that I see, and some of the funny stuff that happens in this. It occurs to me that it's all about how do we make money off of the drama that exists in the world, and then poke the drama to get it to another level so we can make more money off of it. And I know that we're not going to solve this issue right here, right today, on this stage. I understand that. I just thought it would be like the next level to the topic that we had yesterday. How do we look at all of the business owners around the world, and how are they caring for their employees?
Coach, this really strikes a chord with me. I recently saw a commentary, it was a documentary on Netflix, and I'm trying to do a little back research here. I probably won't be able to multitask. But anyway, the documentary and it's a series actually on just this topic. What, in our first world country, how are we actually benefiting from third world disparity and lack of good character and honest employment? In one episode specifically, it was targeting third world governments in South America who have basically monopolized the industry of avocados. And in this documentary, it of course, the person that they interview, he is, he's for generations had his orchard. And now they have basically, the government, they being the government, has basically drained his area of all the resources because they have redirected all the water towards their avocado, the government's avocado fields. And when I listened to that, I was cut to the core, because here I enjoy guacamole on a regular basis, and it never has crossed my mind how did these resources get to my table? Before it used to be a seasonal thing. I mean, even when I was growing up, I remember mom saying, "Oh, well, I guess we can't get some avocados because they're not in season right now." And she would explain to us, the avocados and orchards in California or wherever. And now it's just a robust industry. And of course, we've got our health kick, that's going on because we recognize the value of avocados. But here is a third world country government who is on a government level, on a country level, draining their own people's resources for their own gain. So I would apply that to what you're describing here. The disparity that is ongoing, that we may or may not even realize as we shop the local market. Thank you. This is Jessica. I'm finished speaking.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thanks for sharing. That's the kind of discussion we're looking for, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to hear, some of that stuff that's going on. It's mind-boggling to me that that this stuff isn't being spoken about. Go ahead.
Oh, and it struck me because it crossed my mind. Why, like you say, why haven't I heard about this? I hear about how great avocados are for me, and now, we are America, we are an abundant country. We have truly been blessed with resources, or to be able to import, resources, but we have a very resourceful country in and of ourselves. But how is it that I haven't heard this story before? So it was really an eye-opener to me. And this Netflix series, and honestly, I'm looking it up right now as we speak, because I'm wanting to be able to give you the title of that, because it is worth checking out. It hits on wine. It hits on trafficking. Many different things that we don't realize what goes on, because we all have we're caught up in our daily lives. And I think also there's a disparity even in the media to really zero in on humanity, because if we were to zero in on humanity and really consider everyone in a global, comfortable, true ecosystem that we would realize what goes on in Colombia, what goes along in Nicaragua, affects us one way or another. Fortunately, I think that we have a wealth of added resources, the extensions such as TikTok and even Clubhouse here, that we're able to disseminate information. And the more that we can ask ourselves questions and then dig for the answers and really learn what's going on around us, the more we'll be able to spread the truth and reveal the truth, and uncover maybe things that have been kept in the dark and secret. So I appreciate for that. I really appreciate that you've opened this topic up. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. You are very welcome, and thank you. Sujata, go ahead.
I see Lois in the audience, and
I've
I'm
invited.
happy that, yeah, okay. I think what you said, Jessica, was very true, and I'd just like to say there is a lack of humanity, and that's why we have all these cover-ups. We don't talk about things that really matter, and it's all about sensationalization of what sells, and the hard-hitting facts we don't want to discuss unless it affects us, and that's reality.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And what we fail to realize, and I say we collectively, is that so much affects us. It's not just, waiting for my child, to get out from school at the school, from the school bus, or, what social agenda we have for this weekend. It reaches, it's far reaching. It's in the clothes that we wear. It's in the water that we drink. The electricity that we're using, or that we probably don't have to use. I've been reading recently about solar powered panels, and oh my goodness, we have a natural resource. We have the sun, and are we really utilizing it to the best of our ability to be able to, avoid any kind of, I'll say fake, fake, power. And we don't, it's convenience tends to be, again, collectively speaking, our go-to. And it's going to strangle us if we don't recognize it soon. I'll give one other little example, and then I'll give up the mic again. My significant other, noticed that, I run the water because I like my water hot, my hot showers. So I'm running my water. And we suddenly realized, you know what? We're just kind of wasting water to get the water warmed up. So we put gallons, of a gallon jug, empty gallon jug, milk jug, to catch the water. And he calculated that in the course of, I want to say a year, 800 gallons of water he had saved. So think about that. That's significant. And that's for one person taking a shower, every day, every other day, that's very significant. There are countries where water is scarce, as in the illustration I mentioned earlier with the avocado groves. So just being mindful. If we are mindful and really take the time to consider what we are doing, how many lights are on in the house? Does my air need to be turned up or down this low all the time? I think that we will recognize that we can not only help ourselves, but also others who may be in need, that again, we haven't realized. So this is Jessica. I'm finished speaking.
Wonderful, Jessica. Thank you so much. Sujata, go ahead.
No, I think it was well said, Jessica, and that's why we need to talk more often on these topics. At least just to start by talking about it, and then ultimately, like I was telling Coach Les, we need to do something about it, not just talk, because unless we put it into action, however small it may start with, it needs to be done.
Awesome. Well, ladies, go ahead, Jessica.
Just very quickly, the Netflix series that I discovered here that showcased avocado groves and the situation of the local countrymen in the South America. The title of that Netflix series is called Rotten, 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 and it expounds on the topics are everything from avocado groves to wine growers in France, to the water resources, how chocolate is grown. So very, very much an eye-opener.
And it's called Rotten, Rotten. All right. I'm going to throw that in the Netflix series called Rotten. Well, once again, thank you. Thank you for stopping by, Gus. Thank you for coming, Trudy. Thank you for coming, Jessica. Thanks for popping in. Really appreciate it. We'll be back here tomorrow night at 9:30 Central Standard Time. So if you're on the Gulf Coast, I believe that will be 10:30 Eastern Time. And it's early morning for Sujata. It'll be early morning Saturday morning for her. So we just, really appreciate your time. And it seems like we're always ending this, but our goal is to try and keep it as close to an hour as possible so that we can continue to excite people and have people want to come back and hear. And who knows, maybe we'll add another dimension to this same conversation tomorrow night and take it up another notch, just like we did today from yesterday. So I really appreciate you, Jessica, and Padeline and Wade. And we thank you. And of course, always to you, Sujata. Thank you so much. Any closing thoughts, Sujata?
I always appreciate these rooms, these conversations, and the discerning audience that we get from time to time. It's not about numbers, it's about quality.
Yeah, and I can definitely say we seem to have landed a lot of quality the last couple of months that we've been doing this.
Yes.
So thank you once again. Thank you very much for being here. And with
Thank
that,
you.
oh, you're welcome. We're going to do a little shout out music wise on the way out, and we will see you tomorrow night if you are wanting to join us. Otherwise, please take a look at the little green bean at the top, the 24-hour Bible study, and come and check out some of our other rooms. We have a room tonight on book reading. I am reading a book on, and I know I owe you the workbook, Sujata, but there's also a free workbook for brand marketing. So I'm not sure what you're up to this evening, Jessica, but it's 7:30 Central. We'll be doing an hour with the author, Rebecca Rausch, and myself, and I'll be reading her most recent book, and she has a workbook that comes with it, and I can if you back channel me your email, I'll send you a copy of it, and you can take notes on it while we read. It's a ton of fun.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And that goes for you too, Gus, and also for you, Trudy. And with that, here goes a little bye 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 music.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
We've increased our sales by about 33%, blowing all of our goals out of the water.
In my first 6 months, I actually grew my business with his help over 500%. Literally 500%.
Les Hill is the type of person that invests back in you and back into your company. So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.